Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Rise of Her podcast. And as you guys can see, this is a milestone podcast. So we are up to 100 episodes on the podcast, and I have been talking about this a little bit online because it is a big deal for me, and I have been wanting to really talk about my experience with the podcast. So if you guys are interested in starting your own podcast, or you're just interested in what my experience has been having a podcast, then maybe you'll get some insight from this and it'll be really helpful for you. So let's get straight into it. As you guys know, I really do like to jump straight into the episodes. There's a lot going on at the moment. I'm planning Connect. I've got Pilates and Peonies this upcoming weekend, and we are going through a bit of a transition with Rise of Her as well. So we're really upgrading everything. You guys will see our first guest episode coming out on Thursday, which is, well, not our first guest episode. If you've been listening to podcasts for a while, you would know we do a podcast with a guest every single week. But this one's a little bit different. So I'm not too nervous about sharing it, but it's been a long time coming. So I'm very excited to share it with you guys. And just this new era of Rise of Her. So in celebration of our 100th episode, I thought I might go through my past experience having a podcast and what it's been like and where I expect everything to go, you know, all of those little bits and pieces in between. I really do want to share a few stories with you guys on, you know, moments when I really wanted to quit the podcast and when I was like, this is just not worth my time anymore. And there's a lot of things that go into podcasting that I don't think people realize. And I also really do think it's probably one of the best things I think I've ever done. And I'm excited to really take it to the next level now for you guys and just put more time and effort into it so you can get to know me more. So let's get into the episode because I have things that I want to talk about. And it's also really weird today wearing headphones while I'm doing this because I've got a whole new setup. I got a new computer, which is very exciting. I do struggle to invest in myself when it comes to material possessions, which is very odd. But sometimes when it comes to buying new equipment for the business or something like that, it can be something that I really struggle with because I'm like, well, I've made do until now. Why would I need to get something else? But it has been really cool to go through a new transition, learn these new things, and also invest in myself in this area. It is interesting me saying that because I do really see the value in investing in myself, but then when it comes to buying things for my business, it's very different. Anyways, so because like I said, this is our 100th episode, I do want to tell you guys a little bit more about my journey as a podcaster and how that's all going and where I think want things to go. And I'm very excited for this episode because the podcast was something that I was sitting on for a very long time. And I really was sitting on this podcast for such a long time, and I was like, I don't know if I want to start one. I don't know if anyone will listen and all of this. And I just got to a point where I was like, I want to share more about myself, and I want you guys to get to know me a lot better and just learn from what I've experienced. My point is just to inspire you guys as much as possible. That's why I have the guest episodes, because I do believe that everybody has their own story and there are benefits to hearing from different kinds of people. And for me, I really did struggle in the self-care, personal development area because there wasn't a lot of people who had as many kids as me. I have 4 children. I'm sure you guys know that, but I've got 4 kids. And when it comes to personal development, it does look very different to what you see on social media and on Instagram, TikTok, all of that thing, because a lot of people who are sharing that kind of content, they just don't have, sometimes they have children, sometimes they have 1 or 2 kids. And for me, it was I have this whole tribe of humans that I'm trying to take care of, but I do really value my own growth. And I think that it is extremely important for all women, regardless of if you have kids or you don't have kids, to really be working on their own growth and working on their relationship with themselves. So that's a big reason why I started the podcast. It's the reason why I started anything to do with social media, is because I've always valued connection and community. And the more that I sit in this space, the more that I realize the strongest relationship you will ever have is with yourself. And if you're constantly working on yourself and becoming a better person and really being a light for others, then it just kind of trickles down to everything else that you do. And for me, I always felt because I was, wanting to do my own podcast and run my own business, and I'm doing social media and I do some modeling and I do this and I have my kids and I'm, a wife and I'm just doing all of these things. I was like, well, I don't have time to take care of myself. I don't have time for personal development. But that is the foundation of everything. Taking care of yourself, having a really strong relationship with yourself and with God is what is going to make everything else in your life so much better, and it makes you a better person. So that's kind of why I even started the podcast, why I started social media, why I started sharing my life. I just felt like if I'm feeling this way about things, like, you know, if you've been following me for a really long time, like way back in the day when I started sharing my journey as a mum because I felt alone. I felt really alone, and I just wanted other people to not feel alone. I didn't want others to feel the way that I was feeling. And so I wanted to share that with others to encourage them to take better care of themselves. And that's kind of always where it stemmed from. And because I felt like everything in my life has gotten better since I built that strong relationship with self and with God, and just really like knowing myself and knowing what my purpose is and all of that. It's made my life so much better. It's made the lives of the people around me better because I get a better version of me. My kids get a better version of me. And that's all I really wanted to share, just to encourage you guys to do the same thing. So I'm sorry, I'm looking at my phone because I do have some notes here. So I'm going to talk you guys through a couple of things today. Okay, like I said, this is the 100th episode. So I do want to talk about my story as a podcaster a little bit because it's interesting when I looked back at the episodes that I have shared with you guys and the guests that I've had. It's just been such an interesting experience. So I started my podcast with this same microphone that I'm using today, and I still use it today because it still works really well. So I'm like, I don't know. I still podcast at home. I haven't really I've been posting constant episodes, but I've not really I wouldn't say I've put in no effort because I've been fairly consistent with my podcast, but I've not been 150% putting everything that I have into it. Like a lot of the time people don't even know I have a podcast, which I just forgot that it's not that I forgot that I did it. It was just I didn't really talk about it that much. And when I was looking back through all of the episodes that I've done, I've shared so much amazing episodes with the most beautiful guests. The most beautiful guests have been on my podcast. When I started the podcast, I'm gonna go look back at the oldest episodes that I did. Everything that I have always posted about has been how you can improve your life and what I've done to improve my life, because I wanted to share it because it worked for me. And if I can share something that's going to help one person, I know it's cliche to say, but I actually really do find so much value in that, and it makes me feel like I'm living out my purpose every single time that I get a message or someone sends me a DM or someone comes along to one of our events. I feel like that's what I was made to do, was to help build communities and help people feel less alone. And so I'm just really trying to step more into that now, which is it's not scary at all. I feel most like myself when I'm doing that. It's just, I've really had to let go of a lot of people pleasing along this journey of, podcasting and sharing more about who I am and my story, and sharing the tips and advice that I have to try and help other people. So it's been, an interesting experience for sure. So when I started the podcast, so my first episode was on the 28th of April, 2023. And I remember when I started the podcast, I had been umming and ahhing about it for a really long time. I was like, oh, well, I don't have all of the gear. I don't have a studio. I don't have this. I don't have that. And I was just constantly telling myself I didn't have what I needed to start a podcast. And then I actually really looked into it, and I worked out that I had the bare minimum of what I would need to start a podcast. I had more than the bare minimum. So I had a camera, which I didn't use up until now. I have not been using my camera. I didn't have a microphone, but I think this was $100. And for me, that was a big deal to go and spend that on a new venture, because I was already doing social media heaps and getting heaps of work through there. I didn't need to start anything else, but this was just something that I really wanted to start. And so I went and bought this. I spent hours trying to figure out how to actually start it. I used a free program to record my first few episodes. I was working on this tiny little Lenovo, which it's actually I could have got a new computer so long ago. I just avoided it. And I don't know why. I think it was more when I really think about now why I never put the time and energy into starting my podcast and investing in the equipment and everything, was because as soon as I invested the equipment, it meant that I need to put more energy into it and really push myself, because I am not one to go and buy a $2,000 computer or a $3,000 computer and not make the most of it. So I knew that when I would invest into it, it meant that I would put more time, or more of my own time would have to go into it. And I wasn't sure if I was ready to do that. So when I started the podcast, I just started with a microphone. I started with a free program on my little Lenovo, and I just started recording. And you can even see like in my guest episodes, I was still recording on that while I was growing the podcast. And it was just, I'm so proud of myself. Like I look back at that all the time. I'm like, I'm so proud of this little, like, I wasn't little. I was like 29. I would have been 29 when I started the podcast. But for me, I was like, oh, this is kind of scary. Like, this is a new thing that I've not tried before. I had to learn a heap of new skills. I had to get better at speaking. Like, if you listen to my earlier episodes, they're still not like 100%, but I got better the more that I did it. And interviewing people, my guest episodes, that got easier and easier, and I have a really good flow for things now. But along the way, like, there were so many technical difficulties. Like, I struggled so much like getting the audio right. It's still not 100% now, but I think it's much better than it used to be when I started. And I remember like I would go and record and like put heaps and heaps of like pillows and blankets around just so it would try to avoid the echo. And I didn't get this little like, what is this? I can't remember what this thing is called. I didn't get this thing. I'm putting in my microphone if you're just listening to this. It has like it's a pop filter. That's what it's called. Sorry. I didn't get a pop filter for ages because I didn't really understand like what I would need. I had like one that was in front of it for a bit, which didn't really give me the result that I wanted. Then I found this one. Excuse me. Sorry, guys. And I loved it. I was like, oh, okay, this is so much easier. Like, I love it so much. And as I go through like my episodes, a lot of them come back to simple things about like mindset and just really knowing your value as a human being, because I think a lot of people do struggle with that themselves. Like, they always think that, you know, I don't know if everybody's like this, but I know I definitely used to feel the same, where I felt like I didn't really have a purpose and I was just kind of here. And as I learned more about myself and really started to work on my self-talk and all of that, I got deeper and deeper into having faith in myself. And I feel like over the past couple of months, I've definitely like come into my faith a lot more, but for a long time it was just faith in myself and faith and belief that there was something out there in the world, there was a higher power that was taking care of me, and I just needed to make sure that I was doing as I was told, essentially. And it's been really good. The podcast is one of the most consistent things I think I've ever done, apart from social media as well. But I really love it. I just love podcasting. And like I said, everything that I've done on the podcast has been to try to share something with you guys to help you improve your own lives. There was a long period of time where I was really, really unhappy. I was really depressed. I just didn't really see much value in my own life and who I was as a person. I was just like kind of here. I just, you know, did my best, and my best was as good as it was going to get at that point. And I remember being like, when my dad was in palliative care, and, you know, there was stuff happening with my husband, and I was having kids. Like, I had 4 at the time, and it was just like I was in such a dark place that I just did not see much value in myself, and I didn't think that I was worth taking the best care of. And it wasn't until I hit like beyond rock bottom that I said to myself, okay, well, this cannot possibly be it. And I remember I was outside and I looked up at the sky and I was like, surely there's more out here for me. And then I decided to stop living that like victim mentality and being like, oh, everything's happening to me. But then I realized like everything that I go through makes me who I am. And I believe that's the same for everyone. It makes you who you are. It strengthens you depending on how you look at it. Like, I believe that having a strong community, a strong sense of self, a good relationship with God is what makes you understand who you are and what your purpose is. And if you never stray away from that, like, you are just going to keep going the way that you're supposed to go at the end of the day. There were a lot of moments throughout this podcast experience where I was like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, I don't know if I am going to ever reach my goals as a podcaster. I don't know if anybody is even listening to it. I really avoided the stats for a long time because I didn't want to quit, because I used to have this tendency of like quitting on something if it wasn't getting the results that I wanted. So I'd look at the stats and I'd be like, okay, well, nobody's even listening. Like, what's the point? And then I kind of got to a point where I was like, I know that there's at least one person out here listening, and if they really love this podcast, it's worth me continuing to do. And it has grown since then. And I absolutely love hearing from you guys. When you guys send me a DM and telling me like how you enjoy the podcast, it's definitely been so much fun. So like I said, like I've wanted to quit the podcast quite a few times. I mean, like, I don't know if it's worth my energy, but I always come back to like, if one person's listening to this, it is worth me doing. If this helps one person, if something I say helps one person look at their life a little bit differently, like see the joy in their morning, or like taking the time to actually fill their own cup first, then it's worth it for me. It is so worth it for me, because I don't know the impact of that. Like, I could say one thing on my podcast that helps one person be kind to a stranger on the street, and that could that could help them see their life in differently. Like, I just believe that if we are all spreading joy and happiness and really just trying to make the world a better place, like, it just spreads. Like, it just spreads. And so that's all I want to do with this podcast, is to spread a little love, spread a little joy, encourage you guys to be better. And that's why it's here. There were so many like episodes I didn't end up publishing. Like, I would record them and I was like, oh, this is not good. Like, this is not a good episode. I've shared way too much about myself, and I would just delete them straight away. You know, and I think back to that and like, okay, I definitely wasn't ready to share what I wanted to share at that point, but it has been somewhat healing for me to sit down and record these episodes and talk to you guys about like what I've been going through and like my advice as I'm going through them. Because a lot of the time when I post an episode, especially if it's one of the solo episodes, it's because I'm experiencing something in that moment that I feel like, if I'm experiencing this right now, I'm sure that there is someone else who may be going through something similar. So I really want to share it. And so it has been such a wonderful, wonderful thing to be able to share with you guys those things. And like I said, if you guys hear something on my podcast, like, please share it with someone else who might benefit from it. Like, that's the point of this podcast, and I do want to grow it so that I can help spread love and joy and all the good things. So yeah, I always really appreciate when you guys share it. I think like in the past few months, I've really been pushing myself to get to this 100 milestone, and I think for me, getting to 100 episodes meant that I was really serious about it. And if I could get myself to 100 episodes, for me, I was like, okay, I am a podcaster. And I don't know where that came from. I just kind of said to myself, like, if I am so consistent with this, like, it will pay off. And one day it will. One day it definitely will, and I have faith that it will. But for me, like right now, the payoff that's come with it, it's not necessarily like through sponsorships or anything like that. It is through the messages that I get, and not even the messages that I get, but the hope for myself that I'm putting out good energy, and like people are getting inspired by these podcast episodes. Like, I love having my guests on here, and I'm so grateful for every single one of the beautiful women who come onto my podcast and speak about their journeys and share so openly with me, so that you guys can possibly get inspired by those stories as well. Like, that is so important to me, because for a long time, like, I didn't feel like I was heard. For so long, I felt like nobody cared about my story, didn't have a story, like it just didn't matter. And so being able to give people a platform to share their stories, that not necessarily being like, oh, they have X amount of followers, or like this, you know, like whatever they are, wherever they are in their journey, like, you are not good enough to be on this podcast. Like, if you apply for this podcast and have a good story, like, I'm more than happy to have you on here. That's my favorite thing about the podcast, is like, I want to meet people where they're at and where they're at the journey. And I love the opportunity to have someone back on the podcast. So you guys will hear a couple of people who've been on the podcast like 2 years ago starting to come back up, because I love catching up with people and seeing where they are at their journey. And if they're open to sharing that along the way, like, I absolutely love it. So the guest episodes is something really special to me, and a really good opportunity for people to share who they are and where they're at, and with the same value of like really just wanting to allow women to know, like, wherever you are in your journey, like, that is okay. Like, you don't have to have everything perfect. Like, we are on this journey of life. It is a journey. It is never going to be hit this like spot where you're like, yep, I've done everything I needed to do, I'm perfect, like, that's it, I'll just wait for death now. Like, that, I know it's a bit dark, but like, that's not how it goes. Like, that's not how our lives go. So I'm really, really proud of myself for getting to 100 episodes. I don't know what it is that was about 100 episodes. It made me feel like I'm a serious podcaster, but I am so, so, so insanely grateful for those of you guys who've stuck around and listened to the podcast from day one, for every single person who has shared the podcast with their friends and their family, for everyone who has left a comment or left a review or sent me a personal DM. Like, I cannot even tell you from like the bottom of my heart how much that means to me, because a lot of work does go into this podcast. Like, I have had to learn a whole new skill set. I have to spend I still edit everything myself. Like, I do put a lot of time and energy into this podcast. And so when I get those messages, it makes it even more worth it. It makes me feel like I'm actually doing something that's helping. And that just, I know that I am anyways, even though if people aren't messaging me, that there is someone out there listening. So it's well worth it for me. I really appreciate those of you who've stuck around and shared. Like I said before, I do love this podcast so, so, so much. I'm really excited to see where we go over the next 100 episodes. I'm so excited. Like, I'm so excited to see where the podcast goes. I have full faith that this is going to become one podcast that people really do love and enjoy, and I hope that they do. My goal here is just to spread some love and some joy and just allow people space to share their own stories, because I believe that we will be able to change the world together, even if it's like a small part of the world. Like, we all work together to do it, so we might as well. So I hope that you guys have the best day ever. Thank you so much for listening to our 100th episode, and I will see you guys again in episode 101, which is going to be so exciting because we do have a new video. I recorded in a studio. Our next few episodes are all going to be in the same studio, so I'm really, really excited to share that with you guys. And I would absolutely adore your feedback. I always really love to hear what you guys think about certain things. If you want to hear more on different topics, do you have a guest that you want me to reach out to and see if they want to come on the podcast, like, please let me know. I'm here to serve you guys and bring you guys as much value as possible. So if you tell me what you want, I'll do my best to make it happen, and I will see you in our next episode. Have the most amazing day, and I'll chat to you so soon.